Hey friends and family, Judith with Four Corners from Jay. Thank you for joining me as I read through the first book of Maccabees. It is my goal to read through at least 4 personally on my own time, but I want to share at least the first book with you and other people that I'll share this video with. So in this video, I'm reading through Maccabees book 1, chapter 2. I do have mosquitoes, so I apologize if I'm fidgeting and swatting. Again, Maccabees book 1, chapter 2. I have my book in my lap, so that's what this arrangement, that's what's going to be going on. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan called Cadiz, Simon named Thasis, Judas, who is also called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphas. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe to me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery on my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hands of the enemies, and the sanctuary into the hands of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels were carried away into captivity. Her infants were slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom, and gotten her spoils? All her ornaments were taken away. Of a free woman she is become a bondslave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty, our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes, and put on sackcloth, and mourned very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of the Israel came unto them, Mattathias also his sons came together. Verse 17. Then also answered the king's officer and said to Mattathias on the wise, Thou art a ruler, and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remnant at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold, and many rewards. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that were under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from their religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words, to go from our religion either to the right hand or to the left. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Verse 24. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt him zealously for the law of God, like Phinehas did unto Zambri the son of Salam. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintains the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his son fled into the mountains, and left all they ever had in the city. Then many that sought after the justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there. But they and their children and their wives and their cattle became afflictions increased sore upon them. Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was in Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men had broken the king's commandments, were gone down into the secret places of the wilderness, they pursued after them in great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, Let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, We will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they had hid, but said, Let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on Sabbath, and they slew them, with their wives and the children and the cattle, to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Maccabees and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, If we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, then they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, Whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them. Neither will we die all, as our brethren had that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assadeans, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted to the law. Also all they had that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath, but the rest fled to the heathen for succor. Then Maccabees and his friends went round and about, and pulled down the altars, and what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, they circumcised valiantly. They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered at their hands. So they recovered the law out of the hands of the Gentiles, and out of the hands of the king, neither suffered they the sinner of triumph. Now when the time drew near that Maccabees should die, he said unto his sons, Now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, at the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and two was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph in the time of distress kept the commandments, and was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Jesus, for fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, was taken up into heaven. Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing, were saved out of the flame. Daniel, for his innocency, was delivered from the mouth of lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages, that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not then the words of the sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And behold, I know that our brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you. As for Judas Maccabees, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain, and fight the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those who observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them, and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year. And his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin, and all Israel made great lamentation for him. Maccabees, Book 1, Chapter 2, complete.